guys, you're watching Out of the Box podcast with Rosie Tran. I am so excited to be here today with the executive director of Freedomfest, Valerie Durham. Valerie, how are you?
I'm doing fabulous. I'm coming to you from just outside the DC area, and we're busy in the throes of planning Freedomfest, which is always just so much fun. So things are going great.
Awesome. So for those of the listeners or watchers who are not familiar with Freedomfest, how would you describe this amazing festival?
Wow, thanks so much, because I'm really proud of the work we do at Freedomfest. We've been around almost 15 years now, and we started as the one place that our founder, Mark Skousen, wanted to create, where at one time in one place, anybody who cares about liberty can come together to learn, share, network, and grow the liberty movement. And we still do that. And what's so amazing about Freedomfest is that for 4 days, we have these deep intellectual conversations, really stimulating debates and panels, but we also manage to have a really good time together, and we keep it all civil. Like, that's what I think is the most amazing thing. We'll honestly talk about climate change, but not from a pejorative kind of like, you suck and you're the worst and I hate your ideas, but like, oh, tell me more about that. And did you ever consider this? So we have real conversations about important issues. And then we go out on the Vegas Strip and have a great time together afterwards, or do karaoke or whatever we do.
That sounds amazing. And I'm sorry to say, but it's actually a really sad time, because I think that the words freedom and liberty are actually really charged right now, which is scary. It's sad to hear such positive words being so, triggering to a lot of people.
Yeah.
I never thought in America I would say those those statements, but you mentioned about having conversations, and I think that's really important, because right now there's a lot of divisiveness. There's a lot of lack of conversation, even among families. I know social media is really creating echo chambers where people aren't able to discuss things freely. And I have a lot of friends on all sorts of different political spectrums, and we're able to talk and have conversations. And that seems to be rare and not the mainstream case right now. So it's amazing that you guys have those discussions, panels, and things where people can really discuss ideas, which is part of, America and the world, and freedom is just being able to express ideas openly and objectively, and not have people criticize just someone having a different opinion.
It's really true. And I think one of the challenges that we have is that, like you're alluding to, words become charged, like words like liberal and progressive. So many people hear that as a negative. Well, actually, it's a really good thing to be progressive. We all want progress. That's actually
Exactly.
a really good thing. I really came to this. I've been a libertarian my whole life, but I have a lot of conservative lineage in my family history as well. My great grandfather is Benjamin Franklin.
Oh, wow!
So, yeah, a great
That's amazing.
thinker and a really amazing founding father who was very progressive. He was on the forefront of abolition in many different aspects. First postmaster general. So we have this whole history. But in graduate school, I was in graduate school for dance, and I had my first experience really being around a lot of people who would have what we call liberal points of view. And I loved it because I was able to engage with people and find out that we really have a lot of shared values. In a lot of cases, it's just we want to get there differently. And so that's when I really learned to listen and to value what other people are concerned about. And so what I find at Freedomfest is that we're able to get rid of the labels. We don't label people as Democrat or Republican or conservative. We have anarcho-capitalists coming. We have, super pro-Trumpers. We have avowed, feminists, and we have every gamut.
A very diverse group of people.
It's really diverse. And you can sit down and have a conversation with somebody and find those shared values. And even when you disagree, it's about respect. And that's the one thing that I feel like we've lost in this country, is respecting each other's perspectives. And we really bring that into the way that we structure Freedomfest, is that we're going to have mutual respect for the conversation, because we all do want to make progress and have happier, more fulfilled lives. And we believe in freedom and liberty in those true original ways, like you were referencing.
Yeah, I think that's really amazing. And I think the problem is that people aren't willing to listen to each other. And because, I always tell my husband, I said, I'm an independent, I'm not liberal or conservative. I like to take the best ideas from both sides. And I think that should be what we do, is we're taking the best ideas and sharing them. And the more we share those ideas, the more people can learn about them. There's so many things that I didn't know about, free markets, about other things, until listening to other friends that had a different opposing viewpoint. I remember, listening to, there's a gentleman that won the Nobel Peace Prize. I'm completely blanking on his name, that created the micro lending system. And he talked about
Muhammad Yunus.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes, Mohammed. And he was talking about, taking conscious capitalism and revolutionizing the third world. And I was like, I had never heard about it talked like that before. And my mind like exploded. I was like, wow, that's really amazing and positive, way to empower women, empower, people in third world countries to trade, become entrepreneurs, create businesses. So it was a really amazing thing. And I would have never learned about him if it wasn't for a colleague of mine. So I think ideas are very powerful, and we live in a time where I feel like they are being suppressed by the mainstream media and certain narratives. So I think that's important.
And so that's one of the reasons that we have last year we had 302 speakers. We had so many speakers.
That's quite a lot.
Freedomfest is one of those places where the speakers come to attend as well, because they're interested in meeting their liberty heroes, in meeting the other experts in these different fields. Because we don't just talk about political freedom. We talk about economic freedom, like you're mentioning, financial freedom, health freedom, in terms of what we do with our healthcare systems, but also like actually having healthy bodies. It's very difficult to live a life when we're not healthy. Looking at our education system, looking at criminal justice reform, looking at social issues like drug legalization or sex worker rights. Like we tackle some really interesting issues because we are trying to find that forward progress. So you'll come to Freedomfest and you'll hear a name that you've heard before, like you'll have Steve Forbes there talking about economics or what have you, but you'll also hear from somebody really brand new and kind of cutting edge, doing really important work on maybe private cities or, kind of alternative city zones where you can have your own way of living. So we
live off the grid.
Yeah, and live off the grid, seasteading. Like we talk about, we definitely avoid, tinfoil hat situations, conspiracy theories we're not so big into. But if you want to like really dive into where are the legitimate things I need to know about in crypto, in cybersecurity, in economic development, in investing opportunities, and then in some of these social reform issues, we delve into all of that. And you're going to hear from cutting edge people that you've maybe never heard of and you're going to find fascinating, to some of the biggest people like Corey DeAngelis, who's out there talking a lot about school choice, for example, and really leading the charge on school choice. You're going to hear from all those different people. And like you're saying, it's the diversity of views and opinions that you weigh for yourself, which really makes us true sovereign individuals, is gathering that information and making intelligent choices for ourselves.
Yeah, and I think what you're talking about is really important, because a lot of times people hear, like I said, the words freedom and liberty, they think about politics, but you're taking it in a whole another level, because economic freedom and health freedom actually is more important. If you don't have your health, you don't have anything. It doesn't matter if you're in politics or if you're a billionaire, if you can't get out of bed because you're so sick you can't move, that is taking away from most of your freedom, if not all of it, the sovereignty of your body.
Exactly. And that's why the pandemic has been particularly interesting. And we've really tried we did get canceled in 2020. We tried really hard to have our event, but ultimately the restrictions in Vegas were so much at the last minute, we had to cancel. And that was really devastating, because we feel like, there are a set of principles that guide us, and individual choice, individual sovereignty are really guiding principles. So we advocate for personal responsibility, taking care of your health, making sure that you are doing appropriate things to live in society, but that also shouldn't be forced or mandated. So that's going to really
a balance between health, personal health,
and I think we're starting to figure that out, that that there's a personal responsibility to living in a society, but that the value of individual sovereignty is also incredibly important. But also just the amazing importance of taking care of your health. We actually start each day at Freedomfest with yoga. So you can have your yoga in the morning. We have several health sessions. John Mackey is one of our co-ambassadors of Whole Foods Market. And he's given really, really great talks on his whole foods diet. And we've had other nutritionists come through and talk about the importance of immune defense. And because it's so important, we feel like freedom is not, it's a lifestyle. When you live free and you can get up every day and choose what you're going to do with your life, choose what you're going to do with your money, which money represents the time you've spent and the things that you've done in your life that people have valued and given you money for. So a lot of people want to tear down money, but I think money is a representation of the life we've led and the choices that we've made in so many ways. And it reflects, it's complicated, but it's, overall a representation of some of the choices we've made in our lives. So what we do with that, how we choose to support charities, or how we choose to support our families or children, or how we choose to have businesses that serve the community. I like to talk about free markets as it being about cooperation and collaboration way more than it's about competition.
Yes.
We've really overanalyzed so that greed is good and all that kind of stuff, and the Wolf of Wall Street. And, we have all these stereotypes coming out of Hollywood, but really when you get down to it, you have vendors who are collaborating. I have this bread to offer this sandwich maker who can then make sandwiches to support, there's so much more collaboration and cooperation in the free markets than I think we realize. And that's such a positive thing, that what I have to offer might be of value to you, and what you have to offer might be of value to someone else. And we can all work together to create this life that does afford us so many choices in so many ways. And that's a really beautiful thing.
I think a lot of it is that people really don't understand the logistics of it. Like you said, there's a lot of miscommunication. There's a lot of Hollywood tropes. There's a lot of lack of information. And, you said a lot of people do like to tear down money and success. And I think that's because a lot of people don't understand the choices that they do have. If anyone who follows the financial freedom movement, the FIRE movements, independent investing movements knows that the more financial freedom you have, the more freedom you have. And so unfortunately, I don't think that our public school system teaches financial freedom and financial responsibility and investing and things like that. And so these are the things, I have had so many independent FIRE investing people and out of the box. And I think it's important for people to know, I grew up in a middle class household. I didn't know about any of this stuff. And once I, went down the rabbit hole, I was like, wow, there's other options to just working a 9-to-5. You can be an entrepreneur. You can have your own business. You can, create wealth. You can do real estate investing. So there's so many things I think people aren't taught. And so the more information, and the internet is certainly helping with that, but it sounds like Freedomfest is getting the word out as well to people that are interested in getting more freedom, whether it's financial, economic, or political, or whatever.
We actually have a full investment track at we call it the Global Financial Summit within Freedomfest. So if you're interested in investing as a mechanism to find more independence for yourself, you can come and attend things on, like I said, crypto, gold, real estate investing, we have oil and gas. There's just so many different investing opportunities that we present at Freedomfest and have really good conversations about. We also have an entrepreneurs track that we're launching this year, so that people who are entrepreneurs, who are interested in launching a business, they have a business idea, whether you're just starting out, you have your idea, nothing else, you have your business plan, but you're looking for that first round of funding, or even if you're more advanced, you're looking to scale or to have your second or third round of funding. We're bringing together a great panel of experts, because that ability to take a creative idea and manifest it into reality.
It's like pure creativity.
Oh my gosh. And it's so fundamentally human. Everything around us right now, Rosie, came from somebody's mind, and they figured out how to bring it forward, whether it's your desk or an artwork or these cut flowers or art clothes,
or an app, or a business,
and
or
all
whatever.
The digital things that we have, and the beauty of people being able to want to better their lives through helping to better other people's lives through an idea they have is absolutely miraculous. And whether someone's in a 9-to-5 job or has it takes a certain mindset, like investing, like you have to, if you're a growth investor versus it takes a certain mindset. But for those who do it, I just think we can build such a beautiful world, especially when we have that sense of consciousness. I love to go back to John Mackey. He talks in his book, Conscious Capitalism, about stakeholders and figuring out who are you serving and how can you serve them best? And that is really what fuels success, whether it's financial or success as you define it in other ways. So I just think that's a beautiful part of humanity that we've tried to bring forward in Freedomfest.
And the more people you serve, the more successful you are. That's the amazing part of that business model, is that the more people you serve with your services, with your products, then that lifts you up. I think there's a very negative narrative going around right now that you can't get ahead in society and the system's out to get you. And so some of these resources are absolutely amazing, because I think the gap between success and the individual is having that knowledge, having that information. If you're a felon, it's almost impossible to get a job, but if you're a felon, you can be an entrepreneur and create your own business. So a lot of people don't know that there's these amazing tools out there. There's nothing to stop you. And, there's amazing stories that I've heard of people, going from crackhead to, having a juicing empire. So it's definitely amazing to have that information. Let's talk about some of the speakers that are planning for this year, so people can get a little taste of it and maybe plan to go to Freedomfest, which I believe is in July.
It is. So we're July 13th through the 16th at the Mirage in Las Vegas. So right on the Strip. And we're really excited to host it looks like we're on track to be yet again growing and our biggest Freedomfest ever. We have a lot of really cool people coming to Freedomfest this year. One thing I'm going to announce early is that Lisa Kennedy is going to be our MC, and she is coming out from Fox Business News. And, she used to be a VJ back in the day on MTV. She's really strong, wonderful libertarian voice. So she's going to be our MC for the entire event, and she's hilarious. So she's just a really, really fun person. We have Glenn Greenwald coming.
Oh, amazing.
Great independent journalist. And to pick up on the conversation we're having there, independent journalism is the wave of the future. Yes. Podcasts like this and doing your own research and people doing investigative journalism and then putting it out there in alternative mechanisms is the way we're going to get our information. And that's really exciting. So he'll talk about that. He's going to be doing a lot of work in Brazil.
I apologize. I don't want to cut you off. I just want to let the listeners know who are not aware. Was Glenn writing for The Independent or?
Yes. And so,
and then he left.
Yes. And Edward Snowden that's who Edward Snowden reached out to when he wanted to leak all the documents. And so Glenn was responsible for that. And then now he's on his own, but he's doing on his own.
He left because there was actually some lack of integrity within the institution he was writing in. And so that's why independent and alternative journalism is so important, as you mentioned. And I wanted to bring that forward because, I don't want to be a conspiracy theorist and say we're being lied to, but definitely there's certain news outlets that have an agenda.
Yes.
And they definitely a certain narrative that they want to push. And I'm very proud of Glenn for stepping away from that and saying, I'm not going to push that agenda. This is not the factual evidence that I'm reporting on. And so that's the reason that he decided to leave, which is amazing.
Yeah. So he'll be telling that story along with the work he's been doing fighting political corruption in Brazil right now. That's his current project. And that's has quite a few harrowing stories from what I understand. We also have Del Bigtree coming, and he is with the Consent Network. And so he's been working on health freedom for decades. And a lot of that is involved around vaccines, but it's really about your health privacy and health freedom. And so he's actually, he and his, the Consent Network have been working with the CDC and many different government officials to try to make sure that we have appropriate health freedom and health privacy. And I think he's going to give a really interesting speech. Ben Stein is coming, and
oh wow, it sounds like such a diverse group of people
back in the day. So if for those who love Ferris Bueller like I do, it says anyone, and he's talking about voodoo economics, and he's referencing Art Laffer. So we have gotten Art Laffer, the economist, to come debate Ben Stein about the Laffer curve based on what they talked about and kind of what they were referencing in Ferris Bueller. And they're also going to be talking about this concept of whether we should tax the rich more. And I'm going to present their different views. Ben says yes, and Art says no, and they're both going to present their evidence.
I love that. I love that you have the different opinions and the reasons and the talking points. That's amazing. That's amazing. I was watching a PBS from 1974 that had like Milton Friedman on it, and it was like there was all sorts of different, there was like 7 different points of views, and they were all talking civil. I was in shock. It felt like a different lifetime. It was
used to do that.
Yeah, it was on PBS, which is notorious known as more left leaning, but it was like 7 different people from economics and politics, all talking completely civil and not fighting and not arguing. And it was out there for everyone to see their different points of views and their different points. And I felt like sad, like, why doesn't this exist today? And it sounds like you're doing that at Freedomfest.
We are. We really like to present the idea of the civil debate. And we rarely, sometimes we'll do a standalone speech, but panels and debates are just so much more informative. And they do allow the audience to become active participants because you're hearing the different evidence, you're weighing them in your own mind. And then it gives you such opportunity. Another great feature of Freedomfest is that you're going to meet really interesting people. So after
it sounds like a
debate on, like we're working on a debate right now on universal basic income, because a lot of people have very mixed views about that. There are libertarians who support UBI, and there are other people who are like, absolutely not. And it's a really interesting topic. And, the idea.
We need to talk after this podcast, because I actually am friends with one of the top UBI experts in the US.
Please.
So I will send you his info.
That's perfect. You can go and take that as a conversation after. We're really excited. Zuby is coming this year, which we're really excited about. He's flying over from England. And
UBI is a really controversial topic right now. Yeah. And it's, I know Andrew Yang, who was a venture capitalist, and presidential candidate, was pushing it. And a lot of people think it's very leftist, but there's a lot of libertarian and people on the right who think it's a great, alternative. So that's an amazing topic to cover.
Yeah, no, that's the thing. It's so fascinating. When we look over the history, we were talking about marijuana legalization
before anyone else, right?
Yes. Like 10 years ago, we were talking about it and marijuana policy. And now we're talking about a broader level of drug legalization. And the new issue really has come up is the sex work issue. That's also something that we're getting a lot of interest in.
I might have someone for you for that too.
I'm just gonna have to give you your Rolodex so we can get some great speakers on board. Our list is growing. We probably have 50 or 60 people listed now. By the time Freedomfest launches, like I said, we'll be 250, 300 different speakers in a lot of different categories. So there's the other thing that I'll say is that as a result, there's something for everyone. So even if you're a political junkie, there's plenty of stuff for you. But if you want to talk about really deep social issues and let me try to have just some fun, like we've had things on baseball card collecting and bird watching and jazz. And we're going to have an art exhibit this year and a comedy festival. And we have our Anthem Film Festival. So if you like to watch movies, we have all of these never before seen libertarian-based films that you won't really see anywhere else. Like I said, we're having our year 2 of our comedy festival. So bringing together some of our best libertarian comedians. That was a sold out event last year, and we're having to make it bigger because it was just standing room only. And you may know somebody who's good at comedy. I don't know, that you should talk about that too. And then our art exhibit, we're also, because all of these creatives, that's also, like we were saying, all about freedom too. So there's just, if you go to freedomfest.com, you can look at all of our current speakers who are signed up, but we're adding to that all the time. And right now is our early bird. And I actually, for your listeners, I put together a special discount. So use the code Rosie50, which is, your name, ROSIE 50.
Awesome, I didn't know
another $50 off. So just go to freedomfest.com, check everything out, and then click register now, and then use that code. You get an additional $50 off. And so it's a really great price right before March 31st.
That's awesome. All right, guys, check out that and use that coupon code to get a discount on Freedom Fest if you're interested in attending. How did you get involved with Freedom Fest?
So, Freedom Fest is actually a family business, and
Okay.
my parents first formed Freedom Fest when they were the president of my dad was the president of Foundation for Economic Education in 2001, 2002. And that's when he really saw that all these think tanks were doing great work, Heritage and Cato and Reason, but they weren't really having a way to get together. And so he formed Fee Fest, because the Foundation for Economic Education is called Fee. So it was Fee Fest, and they had their first event in 2002. Eventually, he resigned from being president and took it back over as Freedom Fest in 2007. So in about 2014, the current, the lady who was kind of running the conference at the time wanted to retire. And I just finished graduate school. I wasn't sure what I wanted to do. And my parents called and said, would you like to try running Freedom Fest? And I said, great, because politically and, philosophically, I'm very aligned. I know the business. I was raised in the conference business. My dad is also an economist and a free market economist and a financial advisor. So I've gone to all the financial investment shows all over the world growing up. But I really had no experience in this other than I really drew on my dance. So I'm an Isadora Duncan dancer. She's known as the mother of modern dance. And I have followed in her training, and I have her technique, and I'm one of the holders of her master repertory. So I drew on putting together, like self-producing, because you have to put together a program, you have to get cast members, you have to figure out lighting and staging, and you have to sell tickets, and maybe there's a reception after, so there's food and beverage stuff. So I drew on that ability to kind of self-produce. Even then, though, I had a huge learning curve. I mean, it's like all kinds of union laws in Vegas and hotel attrition. I was like, I still don't know. But it's so, the people who come to Freedom Fest are so great and so passionate. And they have so much to offer each other that it's just a joy every single year to see how it all comes together. And honestly, there's only so much I can do. It's more like I'm providing the platform and the opportunity. And so there's so much space for people to be exhibitors, to be sponsors, to be speakers, to be attendees, to kind of come together and share what they have. So we invite artists and we invite business people, and you don't have to be like a Liberty think tank. We have tons of those. If you want to meet the who's who in the Liberty think tank and grassroots organization world, come, like you're going to meet them. But if you run some sort of business and you just have a liberty philosophy and a yearning for that, like come, there's space for you there, and there's people for you to meet and collaborations for you to create, which is just, so it's like our own version of Burning Man, except not drugged out. I don't know, maybe after the hours, people go and get drugged out of
Oh, you don't know what's happening in those hotel rooms.
I can't claim whether things like that are going on. But in terms of we come together, we build this liberty community. It has all this stuff going on. And then you take that out back to your lives and to your businesses and to your organizations after what you've learned there and the partnerships that you've formed. And that part is really cool.
That does sound really awesome. Well, I'm excited for my listeners to check it out. If you guys plan on going, don't forget to use the coupon code so you guys can save $50. Valerie, how can people find out more about you individually, maybe your dance, and also you mentioned Freedom Fest's website, or any like-minded things, so listeners can follow up and check you out?
Absolutely. So I do have a website for my dance. It's valeriedurham.com. And with the pandemic, I had kind of taken a break from dance, but I'm relaunching that. I had a new piece come out in September called Tunicked that was really fun. I was exploring how, as a 21st century woman, I put on this tunic, this symbol of Greek ancient goddesshood, and I dance around like, what does that mean? Like, what am I saying? So I had this whole piece about that, and now I'm teaching classes again and looking to do more performance opportunities, because I think live performance is just such an amazing opportunity.
It's making a comeback too right now with the change in lockdowns.
Yeah, music is coming back, and theater, and yay, we need that. Again, makes us so human. And I'm on Facebook and Twitter and Instagram, it's either Valerie Durham or Liberty Dancer. Those are the two ways you can find me on those platform.
Awesome. Well, if you're watching this video on YouTube or Rockfin, we'll have the information in the show notes below. If you're listening, check out our website, outoftheboxpodcast.com, where we have links to all of our amazing guests. And Valerie, thank you so much. This has been Out of the Box Podcast with Rosie Tran. As always, I'm Funny Rosie at Twitter, at Funny Rosie, Out of the Box Rosie on Instagram. Guys, have a great day.